Reddit, what's your best, "Oh, I'm actually the bad guy here" moment? I used to work security at a college bar and we would typically ask people to leave who were too intoxicated. One night I was posted up in the DJ booth because it was our normal shoulder to shoulder level of busy and I watched this guy start stumbling and drinking his beer in a really weird way. I make my way over to him and tell him he has to leave because he is too drunk. He tries to tell me something but I can't understand what he said because the music is so loud and he was slurring his words. We get outside and he tells me that he has cerebral palsy, which was pretty obvious after the fact. He was cool about it and I let him back in, but I don't think I have ever felt like a bigger dong than that night. I have a buddy who has muscular dystrophy. Once, while in the liquor store, he had a bout of paralysis and collapsed. The reaction from everyone in there was along the lines of, "Oh, great, another drunk," until he told them he has muscular dystrophy and physically can't get up. He said it was kinda funny watching them all scramble to help him after that. Pulled out the gas station and this butthole was riding my bumper, honking his horn and waving and pointing. I pulled over and throwing my arms up ready for the altercation because I did nothing wrong. Turns out I drove off without closing my gas cap. Wasn't really such a big deal for how he was acting, but he was still just trying to help. I apologized and thanked him. In high school there was a kid who I unwittingly bullied. I actually thought he was a cool dude, and my friend group and I roughhoused a lot. Headlocks, finger circle game, dead legs, etc. I was just doing what I did with everyone I get along with. One day I came up behind him and did that thing where you kick someone's back leg into their front leg while they're walking and they trip on their feet. He turned around with fear and anger in his eyes and yelled, "Why do you have to be such a dong to me all the time?" My heart sank to my feet. I didn't realize that what I saw as friendly bonding play, he found really intimidating. We talked it out, and I spent the rest of my high school days being really nice to him. The weirdest part is that he was a pretty popular kid, not small by any means, and on a couple different sports teams. Goes to show, anybody can feel bullied. Realizing that the reason my partner and I are always fighting is because I am always picking fights. I'm still working on trying to fix this. This is a tough realization but a good one. Now you can grow as a person. I was at a restaurant doing a co-worker dinner thing when I noticed the woman at the next table was staring me down, like, barely blinking, full-blown eye contact. After a while, I started getting pretty agitated when my subtle social cues to stop staring at me went wholly ignored. After about 20 minutes of this, I had enough of this lady's unsolicited rudeness, and I did the whole "come at me, bro, arms in the air" move, thinking surely that would get my point across. I made a fairly big production of it. Only then did I realize that the lady was completely blind. When my sister was about 13 and I was 10, we were in a food court at a mall. A gentleman wearing a black suit and dark black glasses was seated next to us. My sister looks at him, back to me, and says, "Hey, I think that guy is in the FBI or something." I was like, "He is blind." Blind guy tried to suppress a smile. Went to a friend of a friend's house to chill. Nice kid, but his house is crazy dirty, dishes stacked to the ceiling, laundry strewn like carpeting, old takeout food bags from a ton of places everywhere, bags of garbage just laying in piles in the kitchen. The place stunk to high heaven and I had trouble getting comfortable. Later I commented on how dirty the place was to my friend. Turns out the guy's mom has cancer, and the guy has to help take care of her and his younger sibling, all while being a typical teenage boy. I felt bad for judging. It was my mom's moment, but whatever. She was driving me and my brother home from the store when we were young when she drove through an intersection, screaming, "You got a stop sign, lady," out the window at a person she nearly hit. 10 seconds later my mother realized that she was in fact the one who blew through a stop sign. All she said was, "Oh," like any good kids, we still to this day yell, "You got a stop sign, lady," at her. I was driving home one day and a person in the car next to mine waved to me. I went to wave back and my hand instinctively flipped the other person off. Dang, this guy does not like being waved to. Used to think it was funny to quote Dodgeball and say you adopted, your real parents don't even love you. Wish I could say that I learned my lesson the first time that I said this to someone who responded with, "Actually I am adopted, won the lottery twice." It was the moment I realized that I was, in fact, responsible for everything I did while mentally unstable. I spent years alienating everyone I knew by demanding that they forgive my crappy behavior because it wasn't me. It was my bipolar disorder. Everyone else was the bad guy because they just didn't understand my illness. I was the victim. One day just kind of clicked. No matter what the cause, I was the one who was hurting the people around me. It wasn't on them to understand and forgive my endless parade of insanity. It was on me to get help and stop being so toxic to everyone around me. It was that epiphany that really helped me turn the corner. While I'd sought help before, it was always with the mindset that I had no responsibility for, and therefore no control over, my illness. So one time I was in a high school assembly, and a bunch of kids in pajamas started walking into the auditorium. Pajamas were against my school's dress code. Me, thinking I was funny, yelled, "Hey, that's against the dress code." Turns out it was a special ed class. Really felt like a jackass. Couldn't make myself small enough in that crowd. Thought I was saving someone from a bad marriage. Realized I was just convincing someone to cheat on their husband. It wasn't me, but it was amazing to see. I was at a Starbucks, sitting outside, along with a number of other people. A gym rat looking guy starts drawing attention to himself and pointing at people saying, "Is that white Chevy over there your car?" After a couple of these, a guy sitting near me says, "Yeah, that is my car." Gym rat, righteously, "You are a royal jerk for parking in a handicapped spot. How can you be so selfish when someone who needs that spot might show up at any time?" For all you know, he already drove through the parking lot, couldn't find a space, so he headed back home empty-handed. Blah blah. Car owner, "Sorry, I'm handicapped, but I forgot to hang the tag when I left the car." Gym rat, "Oh, really?" At this point the car owner, who had been sitting down and showed no signs of handicap, stands up. The guy is bent in half, like his spine is fused in a 90-degree angle. He looked perfectly normal sitting down. Okay, I'll go to the car and hang the tag." Gym rat, upon seeing him stand, "Sorry, you don't have to do that." The car owner slowly and uncomfortably walks the 40 feet to his car, opens the door, fumbles to hang the tag, then ambles his way back to his seat, rigidly bent the entire time. As uncomfortable as the handicapped guy was doing that, he probably secretly enjoyed how much of a dong it made the other guy look. If it were me, I'd probably stumble a little for theatrical effect. When I was in grade school, I had a serious problem keeping my mouth shut. Basically, if a thought popped into my head, I was frickin' saying it. Teachers didn't exactly appreciate the constant blurting out, but when I really crossed the line was when I made fun of a perfectly sweet girl, just because her mom smoked. Frick you, me. I was already a problem child, and while I wasn't technically expelled, I did have to leave and go to a different school. So yeah, basically expelled, but off the record. What's worse is that it took about 2 years of sulking for me to finally realize that I had it coming. Every bit of it. God, I can't believe how much of a craphead I was. I was a freshman in high school. I don't know why it occurred to me, but I figured out that if you rubbed the little cage that held your books under the desks the right way, that it would resonate and make this loud humming sound. I would sit there and wait for the teacher to turn her back and start. She would turn around and look at the air conditioner vent that was right above me. Of course, when she did, I would stop. She would look bewildered, then turn back around. Of course, I would start up again. Being the quiet kid, no one in the class suspected it was me. It was hilarious, until they closed the classroom down for a couple days because they had concerns about the air conditioners malfunctioning. Was the assistant manager of a fast food place in college. A bunch of punk rocker looking guys my age came in to eat, around the same time as some soccer moms with little kids. One of the punk rock kids was pretty intimidating, easily a foot taller than me and built like an athlete. They were all perfectly nice when they ordered their food, but once they got their cups to fill up their drinks, the big guy started screaming and cursing at the top of his lungs. "Motherfucking pig sucker, son of a b." The moms all looked horrified. I'm ordinarily quite averse to conflict, so I was quite proud of myself when I marched around the counter and got right up into this big dude's face. I looked him straight in the eye and told him that if he had a problem acting like a normal human being, he needed to get out of my restaurant. He looked back at me and almost started crying. He whispered, "I'm sorry," and turned and walked away. He looked absolutely destroyed, and his friends followed him trying to console him. Either that dude legitimately had Tourette's, or the whole group of them was pulling a prank and were the absolute best actors I have ever seen. Oh man, I still feel bad whenever I think about this. So about a year ago, I was on a long international plane flight. I always book the aisle seat because I have a GI disorder that means I sometimes have to get to the bathroom with very little notice. So being trapped in a middle or window seat is suboptimal. I get all seated for my flight, which is the second leg of probably 12 plus hours worth of travel, and I'm so exhausted I start to nod off before boarding is even finished. I'm awakened by a man politely asking if he can have my seat. Groggily, I explained that, no, sorry, I set it up this way because of an illness I have, and I get up so he can have the window seat. It was a small flight, so no middle seat, at least. The nerve of some people, right? If you wanted the aisle seat, why didn't you just choose it beforehand? Random dude, the world doesn't revolve around you. Well, about 3 hours into the flight I wake up again, feeling slightly more human, and end up in conversation with my roommate, and within about 5 minutes, I discover that, no, he wasn't asking to switch seats, he was telling me that I was in his seat. Apparently the airline had switched who was seated where so that he could be closer to his wife and daughter, who were sitting across the aisle. I hadn't looked at my electronic boarding pass since going through security, so I didn't notice the change. I apologized profusely and offered to switch immediately, but the poor guy just said it was okay and declined. Or, I think the airline is the bad guy here, switching your seat without properly and clearly notifying you. When I was 10 or so, a friend of mine got appendicitis, so the teacher asked us to write letters of support to her. Little me thought I could troll her in the same way I could do in the internet, which isn't even justified there, so I wrote an entire letter joking about her condition, wishing it got worse, saying in the end it's all a joke and I wish she got well. The teacher came to class mad and disappointed, and proceeded to read my letter without saying my name. I instantly knew I had fricked up and never did it again. In middle school, I pulled some really creepy crap on a guy I liked, as in, an insane amount of physical stalking. I memorized his schedule only through following him everywhere, and I always appeared in the same places he was. Took one of his belongings that he forgot somewhere, and took an assignment of his that was posted on a class corkboard because I just wanted his stuff. At the time, it didn't even occur to me that what I was doing was fricked up. All I thought about was how can I be around this person without having to interact with him? It's been over half a decade since then. If I did any of the crap I did as an adult I would have been arrested with at least a few restraining orders. My friends told me it was messed up but I refused to listen. I probably did some serious, permanent mental damage to the poor kid. I hope he's managed to recover and I hope he never has to worry about anything like this again. He deserves the relief. I'm pretty sure you think about it more than he does. I doubt you really did any long-term mental damage to the guy. That's my useless random Redditor guarantee. My best friend's younger sister had a weird headband on one day. We were in high school at the time so she was in middle school. She and my friend didn't really get along, and she was kinda mean to me too, so I saw an opportunity to tease her and said, "Nice headband." Turns out she had had cosmetic surgery of some kind to make her ears stick out less, and the headband was there to cover her surgical wounds. I sure did feel like an butthole. Actually happened yesterday. It's not that bad of a thing but I was driving on a road and saw someone on a side street pull out onto my road right in front of a girl that was trying to cross the street. Immediately I got peed that this douche almost hit a girl just to be fast so I followed him for about 30 seconds until he parked so I drove up right next to him, stopped and said, "Hey butthole, you almost killed that girl back there. What the frick are you thinking?" He looked confused and just said, "Dude." She waved me ahead and let me go. "What the frick are you talking about?" Immediately I started to apologize, telling him that it looked bad from where I was but yeah, I went from hero to zero real quick. Looked through my YouTube comment history from 5 years ago. I'm getting second-hand embarrassment just thinking about it, and I have no idea what you even said. I broke up with a close friend and made up with them recently. I was being emotional and lashed out, questioning their friendship because they won't drop everything they're doing for me. I know now I'm wrong. My friend has always been there for me. I still feel bad even though I apologized. I'm a bad friend. Literally fist fighting one of my friends over the ownership rights to wear a green felt hat on St. Patrick's Day. It was his hat. Made fun of a friend for wearing dog tags. Turns out he used them to help others identify his epilepsy in lieu of an identifier bracelet. Whoops. Got into a fist fight. We were equally sized and matched, but I came out on top. For those of you who have ever been in a fist fight, you know that line you're not supposed to cross. You know, when the fight should be over but you throw another punch. I crossed that line. I threw several more punches. I wasn't proud afterward. There's a few rules in a fist fight, but I think two of the most important are: don't fight on cement, no punches to the back of the head, unless you really want to kill someone. I used to be insanely shy and thought everyone hated me for no reason because they wouldn't talk to me. Turns out I was intimidating because I never wanted to talk and was too scared to be around them, so they eventually gave up. Since then I've been trying to make an effort to be nice and say hi to everyone, but I'm still struggling a bit. In first grade, I was making fun of a short boy without realizing I was hurting his feelings. It got to the point where I had upset him so much, he buried his tiny first grade fist right into my stomach. I was left lying on the playground trying to catch my breath. Sort of an opener then and there to treat people the way I wanted to be treated. But he was real frickin' short though. Good on him for jumping up to make sure he actually got you in the stomach. My dog was barking for no reason and wouldn't stop after I yelled at him 3 times. I turn around and he's at the door looking at me with his derpy face while the neighbor's dog continues to bark. Sorry bud. Thought I was the smart guy who would correct everybody on everything. Yeah, that's what buttholes do. I lived with a bunch of my friends senior year of college. We were on an alcohol-fueled warpath that year trying to enjoy every minute of it. One night one of my roommates decided he wasn't going to come out to the bar with us because it was a Tuesday and obviously he had class the next morning. We ragged on him for being a nerd and left. We came home ranked around 2 AM and I thought it would be hilarious to bang on his door and get him to play Mario Kart with us. He told us if I didn't stop he punched me in the face. Yeah right dude. So I kept banging, and true to his word, he opened the door and socked me in the face. It was an absolute moment of clarity for me as his fist connected with my cheek that maybe I was the butthole. I apologized the next morning. He tried to apologize for hitting me and I wouldn't hear it cause it was my fault I made my friend punch me. Most in the wrong I've ever been. You have been visited by the Bapis doggo of good old times. Comment drink well doggo to get infinite Bapis. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.